I am not surprised that you had that many offers on yours. When the rates eventually go down, and they will go down, we're going to see something similar, I think, to what we saw during the wild times of 2020.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ramiro and Raisa. Let's get into it.
So I did an offer yesterday, so sort of around the St. Clair area, and semi-detached. It was split up into 2 units, beautiful property, and I thought, great, my clients have a chance to get it. So we went in, we looked at the comparables, we did a really good price on the property, no conditions in the offer. We had a copy of the bank draft even for the deposits. I thought, you're set up for success, and we put the offer in. Well, 22 offers. 22. So it went from 3 to 9 to 10. It kept climbing. My poor clients, I'm telling them. So, and they're saying to me, what happened? Well, this is what I think happened is that buyers are looking to buy first. And so there's not enough listings. So they're saying, hey, I'm going to buy my property first, then I'll put my house on the market to sell. The problem is everyone, I think, is doing that right now, because we went to the open house on the weekend, and not only was it busy with people, but this is the first time where I saw a lot of agents with their clients at the open house, which we don't normally do, right? We normally book times, outside of the open house times. So, and then I had a listing, a condo townhouse in Etobicoke 2 weeks ago, and that also got an offer on the 3rd day, which we didn't accept, but then we got an offer on the 4th day, which we accepted really fast, and I'm still getting calls off of a sold side.
It's interesting because I did also show a semi-detached here in Mimico, and they're holding offers today. And just this morning, it was up to 7 or 8 offers already.
In the morning?
While they're doing the offers at noon. Yeah, they're doing the offers at noon, but I've been getting the updates.
Yeah.
And so it was 1 offer, then it was 2 offers. Yeah, last night I think it was 4. Then this morning I think it was up to 7 or 8. So clearly, I think all of the talk around interest rates has had its effect. They know now that it's probably going to be paused, and with this potential in July to come down. And I think buyers are finally saying, okay, we have the numbers. This is what we can afford. Let's go out there. And to your point, yeah, there might be a lot of the situation where now they say, well, I'll sell mine, so let's go buy something first, because there isn't the inventory out there, which always puts an upward pressure on prices. And but there also has been, I see, an increase in the showings as well.
No, 100%. And I think it's also a combination. The weather now is pretty mild for Toronto, right? And so all of a sudden people are starting to get active again. And we always know when the weather is better, the buyers start coming out. And I also think too, it's that there's consumer confidence is coming back, because we are anticipating that there aren't going to be any rate hikes. So people feel more comfortable. I think most people, I mean, like you and I, if it's an unknown, you're very uncomfortable with that. So if you're trying to buy a house and you don't know if the rates are going to go up or if they're going to come down, it's too much uncertainty. Where now they're sort of like, okay, we're going to be good. Banks are giving lower interest rates on mortgages. So
yes,
I think
they
that's
are
also bringing more buyers out.
The 5-year and the 3-year fix has actually come down.
Yeah.
I was having a good conversation with a mortgage broker just the other day about that, and there's a small window of opportunity right now for buyers, but clearly the window's closing, because if you're saying 22 offers and this is already starting to happen. So, and I also heard, I like what you were saying there. The market doesn't like uncertainty, right? This is something I heard years ago from a very smart person. He said the market doesn't like uncertainty. Stock markets, real estate markets, when there's this sense of we don't know, then that's when you have that pause or people sitting on the fence. And it's also psychological. We've talked about this many times. So once the psychology shifts and people feel like, okay, there is a bit of certainty, there's a little bit of confidence, then the sale kind of switches.
And then I think the last thing to add to that is sort of this herd mentality, where the news up until December was the sky is falling, the housing prices, it's a bubble, prices are going to collapse, prices are going to go lower. And all of a sudden, if you notice, the news is not talking about that. So all of a sudden people are taking a breather. And if people are watching the news all the time and all of a sudden they're saying, hey, wait a minute, maybe it is time to come back. And then I think that's also another small piece of it that's bringing people in.
Yeah, and for people who've been waiting and waiting and waiting, at some point you just gotta, you have to pull the trigger sooner or later. I know people back in 2010, when the market was going up and up, and they kept thinking there was going to be some kind of crash, and they were going to wait it out. They've been waiting. They've been waiting forever. It's not going to happen. I mean,
in the end, historically, it continues to go up.
Yeah, you'll get some dips. 2018 was a bit of a dip. 2009 there was a bit of a dip with the financial crisis. Last year in the fall, there's a bit of a dip, but yeah, on a trend, there's always kind of an upward trend. Listen, it could have a crash at some point. Who knows? It's happened in the past, right? The 90s, things can happen. There's the black swan event, but right now it looks like buyers are coming back into the market. I know with the announcement that just came through from the government regarding the international students, they're going to put a cap on international students. So they're looking at a 35% decrease this year over last year. So I know that's going to have an effect on, for sure, the rental market.
Yep. Well, and the rental market's already slowed down now. So that should put it even slower for any of the landlords that are looking to fill any properties that are coming up for lease for the spring, which we know is the biggest time for new leases to come. But also the foreign buyers ban.
Yeah, so I saw that. It was interesting. It was a juxtaposition of, you have Olivia Chow, our mayor, who's trying to put a tax on, the foreign buyers so they can up some of the money coming into the city's coffers. And then you have Christopher Freeland saying we're going to extend the ban until 2027.
Yeah. Hey, so I think Brandon is here, one of our favorite real estate lawyers. I bet he's got some more info on that.
Yeah, from Integris Law. Let me go see if he wants to chime in on that one. We'll have a guest speaker today.
Okay, and here comes Brandon. Mr. Brandon Lee from Integris Law.
Hi.
There's a good segue. Government has now introduced a cap on the international students. So we're looking at a 35% roughly decrease from 2023. And then also, you mentioned the foreign buyers.
Foreign buyers tax, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there's roughly
Extending.
extending it to 2027, but there's roughly about 5% was one of the latest Treb reports of actual foreign buyers in Toronto, which is very different than the Vancouver market.
Oh, well, the Vancouver market in Toronto, I mean, it has some similarities in that, we're both overcrowded, but there's also a lot of market differences. When you look at a survey that was published in 2023, 5.6% of current real estate that is owned is non-resident owned. So it's a really small number comparatively. So when we're talking about things that might alleviate the pressure of buying with competition, when the rates eventually come down, a foreign buyer ban likely won't have much effect at all, unfortunately. So it just comes down to making sure that you have the right team around you to go after your dream home.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier how this weekend Raisa wasn't an offer with 22 competition, and I just have one this morning where it's up to 8 offers already. So I think that window is quickly closing for buyers. But to your point, I think you mentioned something about that survey, because at one point before 2017, when this influx of foreign buyers were driving the prices up, they were leaving the properties vacant, there was no data. Nobody knew what the actual numbers were. And then they started sending out these surveys to realtors, voluntary surveys to say, can you please, update and let us know how many of your transactions were. But if the agents don't submit the data, then is that even an accurate figure?
So now we're talking about sample size. Now you have to get me to try and remember my undergraduate degree course of statistics.
Statistics, probably.
All right,
yes,
so let's
exactly.
go here. Okay.
The mean, right? The bell curve.
The bell curve. So
no. But from what you know, though,
obviously, the more data you have, the better off you are. Right? The bigger the sample size, and also types of questions being asked, things of that nature. So yes, there would be a bit of an effect there if some agents are handling it in. The survey that I mentioned was actually a federal survey.
Okay.
So
a
it's
bigger
official
sample
from the government.
size.
Bigger sample size coming from the government. So less of a concern there. The other thing that we're talking about, the underlying issue that we're really discussing here, is how difficult it can be to buy a home. So when or if you get over the hurdle of the stress test that you have to overcome, if you get over the stress test, which last time I checked, a married couple that could qualify for a $500,000 house are making $150,000. By the way, that's with no debt.
Combined, yeah.
No visa debt.
Yeah.
Card
No card loans,
no car loan debt.
student loans.
So you got to get over that first. So that's already a large hurdle. The second part is that studies have shown that as of last fall of 2023, the province of Ontario was approximately 400,000 doors short of having adequate housing for the population. And that's before pre-con projects have paused or stopped due to the high interest rates that is before we have a new batch of new Canadians coming in. So I am not surprised that you had that many offers on yours and you've had 22 on yours. When the rates eventually go down, and they will go down, we're going to see something similar, I think, to what we saw during the wild times of 2020.
Well, and even now, the prices, if we have 22 offers, the prices are going to be driven up.
Yep.
Because that means that 21 buyers are now walking away without purchasing a home, and they're going to be back in to the fray of looking for properties to purchase, along with anyone new that's coming, because we know that spring always has the most amount of buyers coming in.
Correct.
So.
Right. So it's going to be very interesting times for buyers, very interesting times for agents.
Yeah.
Thanks
well, Brandon, thanks.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for taking the time to speak with us.
So, Brandon Lee from Integris Law.